don't know everything about me. I've lived a lot of lives. Before I was an Avenger. Before I got this family. I made mistakes choosing between what the world wants you to be and who you are. We have to go back to where it all started.
Where did you think I was all this time?
We have unfinished business.
My girls are the toughest girls in the world.
I'm sorry. We had our orders and we played our rules.
It wasn't real.
It was real to me. To me, you were everything.
Bring her home.
Put your seatbelts on. She's such a mom.
One thing's for sure. I'm done running from my past.
Welcome everybody to Pop Culture. I am Scott,
I'm Jason.
And I'm Monica.
coming to you once again from our own homes and not the studio. Today we're going to be talking to you about a little independent movie made by Disney for $200 million. That probably should have come out like, I don't know, 6 years ago. Black Widow. Marvel's first badass chick gets her own movie.
Woo!
I'm not celebrating as much, I guess, but yes. It's an interesting choice from my point of view because I haven't found Black Widow that interesting prior as a character within that whole universe. Maybe it's just me. You can correct me if you want.
No, it's a matter of correcting you. I always liked the character, and I think I always wanted this movie. It just feels like too little, too late, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
I liked the movie. There was some stuff in it that isn't great, but I liked the movie.
Yeah, well, it certainly expanded the character for me to the point where it was a bit more likable and relatable, particularly that whole family background and almost, well, fabricated family, we should say, background and experiences that she had. So it was a good film. I enjoyed it. I don't feel like I wasted my time watching it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I felt it was, I'm a bit 50-50 on it. I liked elements of it, but like Scott said, I felt it was a little bit too little too late. Everybody knows what happens to Black Widow in Avengers Endgame, so I thought there was a real lack of stakes in it for the character, and it was just more of, I guess, a little bit of fan service and understanding her backstory a little bit more, which also means you need to have seen all the preceding Avengers movies or Captain America films, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest issue with the movie was the villain problem.
Oh, yeah, just, you mean discount Winter Soldier?
Look, this is the thing, and this is where the internet is like, and having a big nerd meltdown because Taskmaster, spoiler alert, everybody, turns out to be a woman. What?
Oh my god!
And why is that a problem?
Because Taskmaster was a man.
Oh, okay.
I think it's comic book incel nerds just having a
Right.
whinge.
That's
Yeah, okay.
exactly what
Just
it
get
is.
over it.
It was a character that I think it's one. I think it's weird. It's one of those characters like I never cared about Taskmaster at all. I don't think there are many people who really cared about that character. But now that he's in a movie, it's like I've loved him for years. He was always my favorite, and they ruined him.
Not
He
even
just had to be a man named Tony Masters, and they would have been fine. But they made him a woman.
But it makes sense for the story to have it be a female antagonist. I guess, should we do some spoilers for this?
I've already ruined the biggest twist. So
Well, I guess more specifically, it's not just any female, it's Dracov's daughter that was heavily alluded to that in the first Avengers film that Black Widow had disposed of. And
Yes.
we know that she was a young child, and obviously the character is carrying a lot of guilt associated with that as her defection from the Red Room over into S.H.I.E.L.D. So it makes sense from a narrative standpoint, but I remember watching the reveal, you could see it coming from a mile away, and I could not help but think of X-Men 2 with Stryker and his son being the one to sort of be the mind reader that manipulates all the mutants using Cerebro.
yeah, all right, yeah.
That's just where it took me, even to the look of the villain when they removed the mask.
Yeah, Olga Kurylenko in heavy makeup.
Yeah.
One glassy eye.
Yeah, exactly right.
I didn't find the Ray Winston character, other than being just gross, creepy, and sinister, nothing about him was sort of, hit me anyway. I didn't give a shit about him.
I felt in a strange way it was a little bit of an allegory to Harvey Weinstein and the manipulation and taking away of agency of women. I don't know if that's me reading into it a little bit too much, but just a slimy man who's the head of an organization who takes these vulnerable women and weaponizes them or makes them famous and, just does whatever he wants with them and they're disposable.
Wow.
I can see that. Yeah. Well, he certainly looks like him.
He does,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, look, it's probably a bit of a reach on my part, but I just couldn't help but also think about that as well. And also Scarlett Johansson herself being someone who is wanting to be behind the Me Too movement in her own way. So I just felt it was a little bit of a push in that direction.
Yeah, it's I guess an attempt to make it something deeper, given the situation that we're in, given that we only have this female character, and then they really shoved in the child trafficking and all this stuff right in your face right at the start of the movie.
Yeah, exactly right.
So sex wasn't the objective; it was mayhem and murder.
Yeah, exactly right. And I guess the sex part's taken out of it completely with all of them becoming sterilized against their will. The scene where Florence Pugh talks about her involuntary hysterectomy to the Red Guardian was really freaking awkward. And then they turned that into a comedic moment, which did not gel at all. I found some of the comedy was a little bit too much in this movie.
I feel like it might have been an attempt to kind of brush past the way it was handled in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, I can't help but feel that it's just mismanaging it in a similar way instead of trying to sort of tackle it head on in Age of Ultron, but then also deflect with humor in this film. I just don't think it does it any kind of service either way.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Well, you mentioned the main thing that I got from this, and that was Florence Pugh. Once again, you get a side character upstaging the main character.
I love Florence Pugh as Yelena. She's the pocket queen, giver of zero shits, just yearning for a family and being a badass. I love her.
Oh,
She was fantastic.
Just even the sort of poser comments of, having to pull that pose when you land on action pose and rubbishing it. And then it sort of had this idea that it was anti trained killers being idols for girls, and had this aspect going through it where she was really sort of undoing this glorification of what Black Widow is. And it was interesting for me because my daughter really loves Black Widow because it is one of the few female characters in the Marvel universe that she can sort of relate to in any way. And it was nice seeing it sort of get undone a little bit for what it is and what it actually presents to them as an idol or personality of a superhero. So it was quite interesting to see it get undone. I actually enjoyed that aspect to it.
I did too, and to me it also was very much, you know, a younger sister who does look up to her older sister and doesn't want to admit it, but she does it in a way that's sort of like shitting on the things that her older sister does.
Like just backhanded sort of compliments and things.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean,
sibling shit.
I think I said it in our last episode where it was very much, I think, a vehicle for her character to be the new, I know, Blonde Widow, whatever you want to call it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's going to, like, even the post-credit scene is obviously setting up her role in what's coming next.
Yes, yeah, that's true, actually.
And I'm glad, like, she smashed it. I mean, she's a phenomenal actress. Like, in Midsummer, it was amazing. Like, she's a absolutely amazingly talented actor. But, yeah, I thought she was the best part of the movie besides David Harbour.
David Harbour was really, really good in it. Yeah, just this. I would love to learn how to say farewell douchebags in Russian personally. Just a man who's looking for his glory days. I guess the thing that I liked the most about this movie, it was always trying to sort of come back to the theme of family. And while they weren't necessarily a traditional family, they were, you know, a made-up Russian sleeper family. Everyone still has a role to play. Like, the Red Guardian is someone who is looking back into his glory days and deflects with a lot of humor and isn't as helpful as he thinks he is. You know, the Black Widow is aloof and standoffish. Florence Pugh just wants to, you know, be involved, and she pits all the adults against one another. And then you have Rachel Weisz's character who's just fed up with it because she has to do everything.
Like many mothers.
Like many mothers, yeah. I thought it was, if anything, not necessarily a superhero, but a dysfunctional family movie.
Yeah, it definitely becomes that. And Rachel Weisz was really good as well, I have to put in there, because she didn't seem to come across as her normal self as you see her in previous films. And going back to that sort of your opposer comment directed at Black Widow, it's actually how I've seen a lot of Scarlett Johansson's acting in the past, when you go back to things like The Island and so on, which I have to say she's improved over time. Like, she has started doing meatier things and a little more expressive, but she just doesn't quite hold the same gravitas as those other three actors in that family. It's sort of weird seeing them have less screen time but more impact.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't necessarily rate Scarlett Johansson as a very gifted actress. I think if she's with a really good director, they can pull out a really good performance from her. But I agree with you, Jason. I think the other three characters you meet in the film are way more interesting and way more compelling, and they are much stronger performances overall.
Oh, absolutely. It was sort of one of the drawbacks of it, is every time they were when they weren't on screen, I was like, can they come back now? Because like, how much more could, like, Florence Pugh's little meltdown that she has was amazing. And then like the bad dad attempt to, like, cheer her up was like one of my favorite bits in the movie.
Yeah. And also having a look at Rachel Weisz's character as well, who is, you know, I guess the brains of the operation. She is the one who devises the plan to infiltrate the Red Room with Black Widow in the third act of the movie as well. Without her, I don't think the team would have succeeded.
No.
There's no way.
Action-wise, I mean, the film looks very impressive, as does every other Marvel movie. The fight scene between Black Widow and her little sister was very Bourne-esque, and I actually really enjoyed that one. It was like, I like when it feels real.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was quite good as well. I usually struggle with action scenes in Marvel movies because there's just so many edits and cuts that you can't get an idea of the rest of the scene and what's happening in terms of scope. And for me, it's quite disorientating. And when I guess the best example of this is when you finally see Taskmaster about to go up against the Red Guardian, you almost see none of it.
Yeah, cut away.
You cut away completely from what could have been one of the most interesting and comedic fights in the MCU, and you don't get that.
Yeah, just like it feels like there may have been something there and they've cut it out for time. Like, because there's cuts back and he's got the shield. It's like, oh, it's like Captain America, but budget Captain America.
Budget Captain America. Poor Alexei.
Yeah, the other thing that I think made it, I don't know, a little bit tiresome for me is there was again a whole world in danger type scenario in the end. It's sort of like he had control around the world, which I just found it was stretching it beyond what it needed to do, trying to give it more of an epic nature feel where I don't have that background to understand the Red Room a great deal, and I'm there just sort of feeling like that's slapped on as a casual observer.
It felt like it was very much riding on the coattails of Winter Soldier, that kind of like bigger than our hidden government agents plot stuff. That and I think I'm just tired of the stakes always being so high.
Yeah,
it just feels ridiculous after a while. It's sort of like, we just had Thanos, like, I don't care.
I think as well it presents a bit of a continuity issue as well. You have all of these badass Black Widows all around the world. Why weren't they in Infinity War or Endgame to come and give a hand?
Because we forgot to make this movie earlier, all right?
I know it's very nitpicky, but I just feel that you have all this increasing force that could have been useful further down the track for the other films, and that's not necessarily this film's fault, but I do think it presents a lack of foresight and planning on part for the Marvel Cinematic Universe producers who have everything on a very tight leash.
Yeah, it feels like this it should have happened. This should have been the first movie after Civil War. How great would that have been?
Oh, that would have been amazing. I would have been way more invested in all of it. And, they could have integrated a character like Yelena, who is so interesting and so compelling, into those other movies. Could you imagine her being in something like, I guess, in Infinity War or popping up in an Ant-Man movie? It would have been great.
Like, how much better would have, I guess, the end of Infinity War been if, like, for her character to lose her sibling that she just got back, and then for her to die in Endgame, how would that have affected Yelena's story? I don't know. It's just like this stuff that could have been really cool, and it was like just a misstep.
Yeah, and I feel had Black Widow died and having that Yelena involved with it from the get-go as well, it would have motivated her at the end in the post-credit scene where Valentino gives her Hawkeye's photo as her next target.
Yeah.
I just feel that, he was with her, he's responsible, I'm going to get him. It would just feel like more of a more personal vendetta, just a little bit more emotionally charged.
So I'm going to assume that she's the villain, I say in air quotes, for the Hawkeye show.
Is anyone going to watch that, though? Sorry, I'm not a
Hawkeye's like my favorite. So.
Oh, really? I am not a fan.
Like Hawkeye, Spider-Man, and Captain America kind of in there as my three favorites.
Okay.
They haven't really done Hawkeye completely justice, though. So.
No, that's true.
But whatever.
Yeah. I guess another thing I wanted to talk about for this movie as well, we have a group chat going when we do all of our planning for the podcast, and I was mentioning how outraged I was with the premiere access to watch this movie, which I have to say, it does actually sully my experience of it a little bit. You're paying...
I was thinking, I'm like, is she going to go into this with that light?
just a little bit.
Because you were mad. I mean, I got out of it all right because I politely used someone else's Disney Plus and they paid for it, so I was completely not financially impacted by trying to watch this movie at all.
Oh, look, it's not about to break the bank or anything like that, but it was an extra, what was it, $35 on top of your Disney Plus subscription?
On top of a subscription you're already paying, which already just got more expensive because of Stars.
Exactly right, and also it's more expensive than a cinema ticket, which is what, $20 thereabouts. So I just feel I was a
I
little
think they're
bit.
trying to rationalize it as like, yeah, if you've got a house for 4 people, like if Jason was to take his whole family to see this movie at the cinema,
Mm.
It
would
was
have
certainly
been a
cheaper
hell of
for
a lot
me.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand it if you've got more than one person watching the film with you, like a family film. I think that's perfectly
But
reasonable.
it does suck in your situation. I understand that.
Not so much in my situation. I just feel that it's a bit rich for people who subscribe to this kind of service to have to fork out a little bit more for this.
So I'm guessing you don't want us all to watch Jungle Cruise in a couple of weeks.
Oh God, who's in it?
Emily Blunt, Dwayne Johnson,
James Johnson.
James Johnson, Dwayne Johnson.
I love Emily Blunt, but yeah, oh God, The Rock.
It looks
Jesus.
like I'm pretty sure it's
It
like a
is
Disney.
that the one that's
Disney,
the African queen?
Yeah,
It looks like a rip of the African queen.
yeah, mixed with Indiana Jones and a few other things. Yeah,
I think
Oh,
it's
Christ.
a Disney theme park ride.
Of course it is. Okay.
I'm
All right.
yeah. Be prepared for that one.
Yeah, it could be
not.
fun.
I'm not saying we have to, but I feel like
We have
your
to.
No, we have to. That's okay.
your experience might be sullied.
I just wanted to mention that as well for other people who might be, I guess, umming and ahhing about seeing this movie. It might be something that's just worth waiting until it's, on the regular subscription in October. That's just how I feel personally with my.
Not to mention
experience
like,
with
the Blu-ray of it's going to be cheaper when it drops in like 3 months.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I guess just from a price point, I didn't feel it was something that I was going to love enough to sort of, pay that kind of cash for. It's like when you go to the cinema as well. Oh God, was it worth the movie ticket? Nah, not really. I kind of regret it. Bit of bias.
But at least you get the experience when you go to the movies.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
It's Monica's rating here. Was it worth the price of the movie ticket?
I think that's a really good way to look at it.
On a scale of $1 to $35.
On a scale of $1 to $35, which are like cheap seats for, a play as well.
It's a solid $15.50.
Oh, look, I wouldn't have complained about, for a regular cinema ticket. That would have been okay. It's like, oh, yeah, I saw it at the movies. I had a good time. It was nice to watch it on a big screen. But at home, I personally feel no.
Fair enough. I actually really enjoyed it. Like, it was... I'm a comic book nerd, though, and thankfully it wasn't as bad as some of the other bad Marvel movies that we've had, and just generally bad superhero movies that we've had. So I liked kind of the more of the, that kind of Back to Winter Soldier kind of espionage superhero movies. So it was in the flavor that I liked. I liked the action scenes. I didn't find them too jarring compared to, once again, other action movies out there. I think Marvel do a better job with their action than other action franchises.
Sure.
I know I'm not going to see Fast and Furious 9 anytime soon, so...
No, please, no.
I was going to be like, is that what we're going to talk about next week?
No.
No.
There we go. Even we have limits. So, yes. Black Widow. I liked it. It's problematic,
okay.
but I liked it.
I think it's definitely, if you're the fans of that whole universe, you're going to want to watch it and you'll probably enjoy it. It's not bad. I have to say I enjoyed it enough to sort of go, I'd probably watch it again when Ellie, my daughter, decides to watch it again. But yeah, the price, even though we had 4 people watching it, still sort of was a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. But that's me not coming from that full fandom, I think.
Yeah, I'm sort of on the fence about it. There were elements that I liked, but overall, I don't think I'd watch it again. If I'm going to see a good Black Widow movie, I'll just pop in Captain America: Winter Soldier instead.
I think even if, I know we're kind of wrapping up and stuff, but back to that kind of price point thing. If Disney had you the option, all right, if you're $35 if you want to watch it as many times as you want, or like $5 to rent it to watch for a night.
I think the renting option would have been much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe there's, not that Disney is going to listen to us, dirty peasants, but I'm just saying, maybe as an option, the way iTunes offers you that $5.99 rent, or like $30 if you want to own it with special features and stuff like that. That's cool. So maybe that's the middle ground we need to strike here with this weird subscription service extra content.
Well, it's a bit more to it than that, I feel, because it's not just Disney that some people subscribe to. Some people have multiple subscriptions for multiple services as well, just with the overflow of entertainment that we have. So something's got to give, really, and I feel that Mickey Mouse is going to come over and break my legs later for saying it. So,
Oh, you like bins, do you?
who's Stan?
You killed Scott.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, Scott.
that's all right. I'll be okay. All right. Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of Pop Culture. I have been Scott.
I'm still Jason.
And I'm still Monica.